If a person of power or influence repeats a lie enough times, it can often be misconstrued as a truth to the indoctrinated masses. That's just the reality, folks. Look around you. The media propagandists, the central planners, those from central government and central banks, want to keep presenting and putting forth this narrative. I mean, they're trying to pound that shit in your head continuously, regularly, in the hopes that you will bite that shit and swallow it hook, line, and sinker. That's what they want. They're putting the bait out there and they just want you to take it. Because if you take that bait, once you take that bait and they got you on the hook, well, the chance of escape is far removed at that stage. And Don Pittis, once again, is proven to all of us that even though he might, be a manipulative propagandist and might tug at your heartstrings and give you the perceived concept that he might be on your side, in reality, he is a big believer and a promoter of statism. The religion, the cult of statism. Don Pittis, I mean, look at him. He's an older man. All these old people, except for the few that have taken it upon themselves to learn and be educated, properly educated, where they understand the true philosophy and principles of what human cooperation and coexistence is supposed to be about. He still lives in the old world paradigm. But fortunately, people like Don Pittis, as they get older, I mean, they're fighting now in their last dying days to remain, I don't know, and it works to a certain degree because they're part of the established system. But they want to remain relevant. But in reality, all the people that are underneath of him, from Generation X on down, as far as age demographics, for the most part, we all recognize that these old fucks, it's just like someone that believed in the Easter Bunny back in the day, or when you're a child. I mean, once you become an adult, if there's still an adult that you look around, if there's still an adult that believes in the Easter Bunny, he's going to become alone and isolated. Someone you might feel sorry for, definitely look down upon with pity, but not anyone whose opinion or edicts that you'll respect. That's who Don Pittis represents. That's who all the central planners represent, because they're speaking out the side of their mouth, both sides of their mouth at the same time, and not anything that they say truly makes sense when you actually analyze it properly. Parliaments. Oh, here we like CBC News, and it's under the business portfolio or the business section. Parliament's opportunity to rebuild a strong Canadian economy. New government must think up ways to grow a new economy without breaking the bank. So once again, this fucking idiot, this asshat, and like I've told you, look at your grandparents, or look at anyone that believes in the mysticism of, deities, or, well, I mean, government is just another deity, so statism is just another cult, another religion. But look at them. Of course they're desperate to cling and hold on to their fucking ancient, archaic belief systems. It's been pounded in their head since they were a kid. And they're obviously unwilling to try to stretch the boundaries of their intellect, of their knowledge. Otherwise, they would have broken. I mean, if you get to the point where you're fucking like the age of someone like Don Pittis, what, 60s probably, or I don't know, maybe fucking older. If you still believe this bullshit, you haven't done nothing in your life to try to unwind that indoctrination. This man, I mean, he lives in that bubble. He is part of the system, so he wants to promote and propagate that system. He's seemingly unaware or oblivious to the fact that his old world mentality, his old world way of thinking, just like, when the kings of the old world of Western societies thought that they could maintain their power forever. Well, Don thinks modern democracies, central planners and government in the modern democracies, well, that will continue on forever indefinitely, right? I'm here to tell you that times do a change. And your old world way of thinking, your old world mentality will die with you. And hopefully before you actually die. I want people like yourself to be able to see with your own eyes and hear with your own ears how the youth, how the younger people, how your successive generations, how they're going to point out to the rest of their offspring the errors of your old world ways. I want you to be around to see that. I want you to recognize and realize that they're going to all call you out for your stupid, retarded fucking way of thinking. I want you to feel the indignities. I want you to feel your ego taking that hit when you realize that, yeah, your bullshit propaganda falls on deaf ears for the most part. Let's read into this article. Let's see what Don the statist believes in. Sorry, folks. Nice as it sounded as an election promise, even a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure spending plan is like a snowball tossed into a Lake Superior compared to what Canada's lost because of the 70% plunge in the price of exported oil. There are many ways of calculating that loss, but as Bank of Canada Governor Stephen Poloz has mentioned last week, one way of measuring it is by the fact that every Canadian has less spending power because of the falling loonie. And that has led to sharp inflation in the price of imported goods, including a year-on-year increase of 3.7% in the cost of food. So right there, I mean, like, you see how that, watch how this whole thing is done. They're acknowledging the real world proper economic fundamentals, Don is in that first couple small paragraphs. But you watch how they'll twist that narrative to suit their particular ideology. Watch how that plays out in real life in this video. It's both amusing and astounding at the same time. As Parliament gets back to work, it has a one-time chance to rebuild the non-resource economy from the devastation caused by an overpriced Canadian dollar. Infrastructure spending is only a single weapon in its arsenal. So, I mean, already right there. Central planners are going to fucking make up for other central planners by creating more central planning. I mean, insanity, the vicious insanity, the vicious cycle of insanity that is the collective mind, groupthink. That's what Don Pittis represents. According to most economists, keep that right there, according to most, because there's no way in this fucking world Don Pittis could ever suggest that, according to all economists, they have to say most, because most economists today come out of academia. Right? They've been fully indoctrinated into the religion of statism because they've been going to that church, right? Whether it was, Sunday school, post-secondary Sunday school, whatever you want to call the fucking modern religion of statism, whatever, headline or whatever name they use to describe their particular ideology, in reality, they all still believe in that stupid fucking central planning narrative. According to most economists, those from academia that have been fully indoctrinated in the belief of central planning, there is nothing wrong with government investment in infrastructure as a strategy for making the economy stronger. But they will never define the terms, as you will see. Let's just start here. There is nothing wrong with government investment in infrastructure as a strategy for making the economy stronger. So government investing in infrastructure as a strategy for increasing economic activity and prosperity. So what does government do? Let's define the terms, people. Remember? Let's define the terms. So what is government? But a parasitical, fictional entity made up of real human individuals that represent that particular deity or mythology, but they can steal from the productive people because government doesn't create wealth. Government steals from the labor and resources from the private community, the individual. So what they're saying is we can steal from the individual, those who are productive and create true wealth. And when we steal from that, we're going to use that money to create prosperity in these communities or in this country. But what they're not recognizing is, because government is the biggest parasitical entity on the planet, they're saying we're going to take, what's going to happen really is they're going to take a large percentage of those resources to benefit themselves and their crony counterparts and use whatever's left over to build this infrastructure. But in reality, in a country like Canada where everyone's indebted, think about it. This is just reality, people. Personal and private debt is at historical highs. Government, federal, and provincial debts are at record highs and unsustainable. They've even offloaded future obligations or present obligations on the future generations, and they still haven't figured out enough to keep the Ponzi scheme going. So, I mean, think about it. I mean, sure, if you steal from the productive capacity, if you as a private person had the capacity to steal from your great-grandkids that aren't even born yet, but they're going to be productive people. If you could steal a portion of that productivity and use it in the here and now, that will benefit you or the parasites that are enjoying that. But that person, that entity, that child, right? Not an entity, because they will be real. They will be tangibly real. Not fictional characters. The offsprings will be real. But when you steal it from their productive capacity and their productive future wealth to pay for the here and now, you're only hurting them. Of course, you're going to benefit you and those around you in the here and now, but you are destroying your future offspring's potential. But Don doesn't care. I don't know what kind of fucking family this man comes from or what kind of offspring he has or successive generations. He probably doesn't have much of a relationship with them. I mean, if he can imagine. Who amongst him and his family would actually read these kind of articles? If you're think about it. If you're Don Pittis' grandkid, what you're reading here is, all you cocksuckers want to steal all of my future benefits and profits and resourcefulness and creativity to sustain your entitled lifestyles now, and hope that you'll be able to maintain that illusion where my future productive wealth will go to sustaining that. Well, let me tell you, Don, you at least, and all your central planning fucking cohorts must at least recognize it's all up here. It all relies in your successive generations in the information age, might I add, believing in this bullshit. It's your belief now, and you're getting fucking old, but there's younger people like myself that's got plenty more years on me, or on you. I'll be around long when you're fucking gone, Don. But I'll still be telling these young kids not to fucking ever try. So if you really think that you're going to win this battle, you keep propagating your bullshit. I'm going to be here. I'll make sure that you will never, ever be able to enslave future generations and get away with it. Nice try. F or fail on your behalf. Many economists say that with government interest rates so low, Canada can afford to borrow a little bit more. I mean, think about it. That's like someone that's fucking... Think about it, how the governments are all fucking massively indebted. To the tune of being, up to half, more than maybe... Think of the percentage as compared to a GDP, and when they're talking about GDP, the government don't have access to all of the GDP, which is the entire wealth that's created in the country of Canada. They're only access to whatever they can steal from that. But they try to act as if they can steal it all, which they can't. I mean, come on, people, for fuck's sakes, man. They can't steal all the productive wealth, so when you're talking percentage of GDP as far as debt, federal, provincial debts, it's just another Ponzi scheme because they can't steal 100% of your productive wealth. And if they could, everyone would just stop working. Don Pittis is an apologist and a propagandist. That's all he is. And anyone that believes the narrative that he tries to put forward, even when he tries to twist it politically to sound like he's coming off as less abrasive, the truly manipulative among us will stroke your ego, will pat you on the back so that you'll let down your guard so they can shank you, right? Don's smart enough to realize that he needs to stroke your ego while he's shanking you in your liver so that you won't be prepared. You won't be defending yourself. Well, I'm telling you, defend yourself. Be prepared. Those who have lived through a period of reckless overspending by liberal and conservative governments that had to be reined in with cuts and downloaded onto other levels of government may want to listen with at least one ear to the warning of fiscal conservatives. See how they'll promote anything if it suits their narrative. Jesus. Like as if Don Pittis would ever defend fiscal conservatism. But anyways, I digress. Even fiscal conservatives often see value in moderate infrastructure investment. Well, yeah, if it comes through the private sector. But see, he don't distinguish that there, does he? Wisely spent infrastructure can act as a catalyst, straightening kinks and widening bottlenecks, stimulate more economic benefit than just fiscal expansion. But a vigorous new government must also use new thinking to create other types of catalysts to rebuild the economy without bankrupting our children. Here are a few suggestions to get them going. Drones and worker bees. I mean, communism. Come on. The first is to reinvigorate the public service. Battered and demoralized by an ideology that saw public servants as useless drones feeding off the worker bees of the private sector, Canada's civil service elite needs to be returned to its former greatness, recognize as smart people whose primary interest is the welfare of Canadians. So he's saying we need to promote National Socialism more. We need to give the parasites more power. Don, fascist extraordinaire. Self-admitted right there. What else needs to be said? I'll read this one last small paragraph. Then I'm done with listening to any more of the fucking rhetoric or propaganda put forth by this piece of shit. This central planet fucking drum-beating, cheerleading fascist Don Pittis. A strong pluralistic democracy requires a vigorous civil service, respected and hired on merit from among the brightest young people in the country, led by a wise and tested big-thinking reformer. Hello, Central Casting. Get me someone like Mark Carney. If you translated this shit into German back when Hitler was coming to rise, would have been the same kind of narrative being presented. Boy, they rely on the fact that most people don't understand history, huh? Because if most people did, they wouldn't even try to put this shit forward. Learn your history if you want to understand, or at least have a somewhat comprehensible view on what lies, the potential that lies in the here and now and in the future. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.